Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Now, Jay, and you, the listener, you might think that it was really weird that Donald Trump is apparently so triggered that Kamala Harris worked at a McDonald's while she was in college that he had to go do some very staged, phony McDonald's event where he went to, quote unquote, work for McDonald's. But I'm going to use right-wing logic to explain to you that not only is it not weird, it was preordained, and we just didn't, and it was hiding in plain view for all of us to see, and none of us bothered to look.
All right, look, it's we have to. What do they say? Like stick with the plan, or whatever it is. Drink the Kool-Aid or whatever the QAnon people say. All right,
So,
it in, Brad.
so we all know Donald Trump loves McDonald's, one of his favorite things. You know what else Donald Trump loves? Hannibal Lecter. Huge Hannibal Lecter fan, loves Hannibal Lecter. He'd like to have you for dinner, all that stuff. Like, he's been going on the campaign trail talking about Hannibal Lecter. Now, of course, Hannibal Lecter, most famously portrayed by Sir Anthony Hopkins,
yes,
across a couple of movies. But Anthony Hopkins wasn't the first actor to portray Hannibal Lecter, was he, Jay? In fact,
no.
Brian Cox of Succession fame was actually the first actor to portray the character of Dr. Hannibal Lecter on the silver screen. You know what else Brian Cox did, Jay, in the past couple years? Voiceovers for McDonald's commercials.
Oh, there it is. It's all coming together.
It's all linked up.
Brad, I believe the technical term for what you just did, that's the weave, Brad.
That's the weave. We weaved it all together to make a coherent point that we should have all seen this coming, quite frankly. None of us were using our third eye in order to see the truth for what it is.
Which is that he's an idiot. This is his Michael Dukakis moment, right? This is Trump in the
tank. To use the parlance of his times, people are saying that this is the Dukakis moment. Now, whereas Michael Dukakis, so for those of you too young to remember, one of the gaffes,
or way too cool. And let's be honest,
or way too cool. Yeah. Honestly, one of the gaffes that did in Michael Dukakis in the 1988 presidential election is he did an event where he rode in a tank at like an army base and like in some photo op, and it was it was an ad, and he was sticking out of the top of the tank with like a little fucking military helmet on and the whole nine, and it looked completely ridiculous. He did it to show like how tough he was, because I guess people were questioning like his toughness in terms of like his ability to lead the country. Right. And it's one of those things that's pointed at and kind of laughed at historically as to one of the reasons why he got his fucking ass kicked by George H.W. Bush in the 88 presidential election.
Look, cosplaying as a soldier in that case for Dukakis, or cosplaying as a man of the people working in fast food, it's not a good look. This is a bad look. You come off looking like a fraud. In Trump's case, he is one in many respects. Look, so
that's the thing. Well, that's the thing is that there are layers to this, because originally it was just, he's going to go work the fry cooker for 15 minutes and it's going to be the photo op. Then we come to find out that actually the McDonald's was shut down.
Yeah, it's close.
While he was there in advance of his visits. And so like they showed footage.
By the way, in fairness to him, it absolutely should be. You can't just have a presidential candidate like working at a fucking regular Mickey D's. That's insane. Like, that's incredible.
100%. But the problem is that they portrayed it as like, oh, look, Trump, everyman, like working the lunch rush, getting the fries out there. Oh, look, Trump, the everyman, getting people food coming out of the drive-through window. Because that's what they did, is they showed like clips of him at the drive-through window giving food to people and waving. And it turns out that those were all just like plants. Those weren't people that placed orders. That he was just handing them whatever they wanted. They were asking him silly questions that they rehearsed in advance.
Yeah. So listen,
It's all fake.
it's all fake,
A,
right?
a Potemkin McDonald's, if you will.
The wild thing here is one of the questions he was asked, like, boy, are they bad at reading the room themselves,
Mhm.
right? One of the questions he was asked was like, do you support increasing the minimum wage? And he was like, sidestep, not answering that question. I'm like, you're in McDonald's cosplay. The vast majority of McDonald's workers make minimum wage or just above minimum wage, right? And he even couldn't put together a bullshit lie in that moment, and they couldn't structure the fakeness enough to make sure that that question wasn't asked, which is really insane to me. But I think fundamentally what the biggest problem with this McDonald's cosplay, and that's what it is, the biggest issue with it is that it's not even remotely reasonable for anyone to believe. And I mean this as far as people who are normal functioning people who are not in the cult. It is impossible for normal people to look at this and go, oh, this is a genuine thing, right? Like there's two avenues of interest I have in this. One, it looks fake in every regard, right? He's like being shown how to use the fryer. The guy's like, just put the thing in the fryer. And he's like, put the thing in the, I don't know what to do. Let me move your dumb old hand and put the thing in the fryer. By the way, they should have convinced him that he had to throw ice in it. That would have been way better. If you've never seen what happens,
I mean, like I said, if you got to subject them to the typical restaurant hazing as you would any new hire.
Yeah, of course.
So.
My Brooks Brother pants, right? Like, yeah, fuck that, right? Do it, or push them in the freezer or some shit like that. All that being said, I worked at McDonald's for a while. I worked there for 4 hours and I quit. Okay, like that job sucks.
I like how you said you're like, I worked at McDonald's for a while.
For a while.
And a while turned out to be fucking
4 hours. 4 hours. That was it. I got hired. I worked my 4-hour initial shift, and then I went off to summer camp. And then when I came back, they were like, "Oh, do you want to continue working?" I was like, "No, I do not." Like, get the fuck out of here. This fucking sucks. I can't stand for 4 hours like that. Like, if you've got time to lean, you got time to clean. I don't want to do that. Okay, like I'm 15 or 16 years old. Fuck off. So I understand the plight, is what I'm saying. As a 4-hour McDonald's employee, I understand the plight of the everyman. But the second avenue of interest I have in this is why they did it. And it goes back to the debate, right? Kamala Harris has been able to put a pin in that guy and make him dance to whatever fucking tune she wants. And she doesn't have to do much, right? Hillary Clinton said this back in 2016. Like, you can be baited with a fucking tweet, dude. Like, and it's so easy because he falls so victim to the ideas of like his own craziness, right? Like you could just say one little thing, and if he obsesses over, he will act on it, even though it's insane and like extreme. Kamala Harris comes out a number of months ago and says, "Hey, I used to work at McDonald's when I was in college. You know, I know what it's like, kind of grinding, right?" Like, she's not from a rich family. Like, it's not crazy to think that she worked at McDonald's at all. Donald Trump and his team, I don't know if it's purposeful or are they literally this dumb, but they went to, so like the answer is yes. I don't know.
I mean, it's yes in both respects, honestly.
Right. Yes, and also yes. They went to McDonald's corporate and they were like, "Do you have any information on Kamala Harris ever working at McDonald's?" And they're like, We don't have any information about her working here." But the problem is, and this is the part where like the MAGA chodes are just not very smart. McDonald's is a franchise. McDonald's corporate would not have the information on every person who's working at a franchise business. A franchise is owned by someone else, right? Like, hello, this guy I know, he's a big business guy, right? So no, McDonald's corporate does not have any information on her. The franchise would potentially have information on her. By the way, she worked as a college student in the 80s. I'm about to say 40, that may or may not be here anymore. Right. Yeah. In a McDonald's that may or may not be there anymore, right? This is like a McDonald's near Howard University in DC. I don't even know if it still exists. It very well may not, considering, again, it was 40 years ago. But they would be the ones who potentially have the employee information. So they either realize this and try to build a narrative around it and be like, oh, she's lying, or they don't realize that and never thought about it, and no one on the team thought about it, which makes them look even worse, in my opinion. And so I saw, because I made some comments about this on Reddit, and someone says, well, I wish the Harris campaign had like really pushed back on this. And I'm like, no, they did the exact right thing by just putting it out there and never responding to his bullshit. Look what he did. He went to a McDonald's and put on an apron and like pretended to like cook fries. He looks insane. You live in a house with a golden toilet. Does anyone buy this? No. Yeah. It looks nuts.
And I want to go back to your point about him being so easy to bait. If by some,
that's the biggest takeaway, by the way, that people should.
Yeah, if by some weird coincidence there's right wingers out here listening to this, and I know we get some that pop in on YouTube and love to comment. Thanks for the engagement, guys.
If how we're dumb, that's fine. That's great.
Yeah, if you really don't want a leader leading your country who's so thin-skinned that he can be manipulated just by someone giving him facts that they worked at McDonald's 40 years ago, or just by someone making a jab about the size of the crowds at his rallies.
Exactly.
Nowadays, because I hate to break it to you, the vast majority of other world leaders, both allies and adversaries that currently are out there, are a lot smarter than Donald Trump and would easily drag him around by his big dumb nose, knowing that they can just either flatter him or take a shot at him, jibe him over something, and he can't let it go because he's so narcissistic, he's so egotistical, and he's not tough that he has to respond. I mean, we see like a lot of the clips making the news today is how at a rally he was interviewed, I guess like a Q&A thing that was hosted by Sage Steele and he went on and on about how I don't have any cognitive issues, she has the cognitive issues, I took the fucking cognitive test and I aced it, the doctor said I never tasted it, and doctor says he never seen anyone ace the test. And in the same fucking interview, he started it off by calling Sage Steele Paige. Yeah. This just completely not knowing her name.
By the way, shout out to her. Way to torture your entire career to become a right wing d-bag and then go all the way on stage with the former president for him to not even know your fucking name. You so deserve it. I love it.
And to quite frankly be used as a fucking prop. I mean, it's not an accident that he's like, oh, let's get Sage Steele, a conservative black woman, to host this interview with me because I'm trying to help the optics. But as they say, if you have to explain your position, you're losing, kind of sort of thing. Like the Harris campaign moves forward by talking about what we're going to do, and that's the thing. So many people after he made the comments at the NABJ about her race and she wasn't black until it was convenient to be black, and I didn't know she was black. I thought she was Indian. This or the other thing, and so many interviews that she did after that, the interviewers were trying to get her to respond to that. And she's like, I'm not going to fucking talk about that shit.
No,
it's you know how he is.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Excuse me. Every moment, and this is a mistake that Hillary made, right? And it's understandable because when you're the first person to go up against this guy, it's hard to know, right? Though she should have probably learned this a bit from watching the Republican debates, but there was nobody who actually learned to do it right? Mm-hmm. When he is doing his fire hose of lies out of his mouth, the worst thing you can do is to spend all of your time knocking down each one of his lies. Knock down the big ones, move on, because the more time you spend knocking down his lies, the less time you spend talking about what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And, people give Joe Biden a lot of, grief and stuff like that. But he was very smart to just go, I don't really give a shit what that guy's saying. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing.
in
And that,
2020.
right, in
Yes.
2020. But that's why it worked, right? Amongst also people just being
He had the opposite problem this year where he was playing too much in the one debate they had. He was playing too much defense. He was trying to justify and defend the administration's record, and that's where he fell into. Well, it's one of the many reasons why that debate did not go well for him. So.
Right. But yeah, and the McDonald's thing is a prime example because it's such a stupid thing to like harp
so
on.
Amazingly dumb that he's gotten so spiraled. Well, and
Yeah.
you know, because that's his home away from home, Jay. Like, she's not going to talk shit on my fucking on my fucking restaurant.
Right. This is where, like, I'm loving it. That's my thing. I'm loving it. Like, how dare you? Right. So, you know, this idea that she was able to basically, and it's not a troll, right? Like, she wasn't lying about it. She's like, yo, I used to work at McDonald's. And for him, it's so infuriating. But for her to never respond, that's the troll move. Because him going, well, that's bullshit. And she goes, no, it's not bullshit. I went down there and I talked to here's all my friends who believe it. And then people go, well, those friends are lying. And then she's surrounded by liars.
Mm-hmm.
And all it does, it just reiterates how stupid this conversation is. The best thing to do is, she's lying. Cool. Anyway, I'm going to be doing an opportunity economy. He's like, no, but you didn't say anything about the McDonald's thing. Anyway, I'm going to be doing the opportunity economy.
Yeah. Why the fuck am I going to talk about my college job from 40 years ago?
Right.
Why am I going to spend any time on this?
Right. It wasn't like this major part of her stump speech. She's like, yeah, I used to work at McDonald's. And he's like, people who have money don't work in poor people jobs. Like, that's his mentality, right? Like, I can't imagine that. And all she did was just leave that shit out there. Do I think she left it out there on purpose to fucking like goad him? No, I don't. I just think that it really irritated the shit out of him. And when she saw that it did, her team was like, don't say anything. The thing is, they got his number, dude. They have it. And that's why he can't catch a beat on her, because they figured it out. And the second you figure out a person's weakness, it's like in a video game, right? You play a boss level, or you play one of the bosses. I don't know, Bowser. I don't know. I haven't played video games in a long time. Dr. Robotnik. I have no idea. But when you play a boss in a video game, the first time you play them, you generally lose because you don't know what the pattern is. The second you learn what the pattern is, you go, oh, well, this is fucking generally easy work, right? If I duck in this corner, they swing 3 times and I stand up and I hit them. Like that's basically it. Hillary was the first playthrough. Mm-hmm. Biden figured it out. And then they basically took that playbook and perfected it with Kamala Harris.
And to use the video game parlance, Harris is running the speed run strat right now.
Yeah, right. Like everything is already laid out. And she's got her fucking blindfold on. She can just fucking do it. How does she do it so fast? Because it's easy. He's a fucking easy person to bait, which is why all of the world leaders, to your point, are easy. Like he's an easy target for them. They're like, yeah, you're awesome, Trump. You're awesome. Give me that money. Like they can play him so fucking simply because they have already figured out what the pattern is. You stroke his ego, and then you rip as much money and access out of him as possible because he's too enamored by the fact that you think he's so awesome. Yeah, I give it up. I mean, one would call that a whore, but whatever. Like, so yeah, look, I think the McDonald's thing is funny as hell, but it's also emblematic of how much of a weakling on the political stage he truly is. So yeah, congratulations.
And it also goes to show you how they still, even 3.5 months later, do not know how to run against her. Like I was listening to, I can't remember what show I was listening to, but like they talking about how his campaign was set up very specifically to run against Joe Biden. And as soon as Joe Biden was out of the equation, they didn't know what to do. They tried the same play. I mean, they're still trying the same playbook. Like they're trying to just say, oh, this is actually the Harris administration. Like she's actually the one that's been pulling the strings and this, that, or the other thing. And it's just like, and those blows just. I mean, I'm sure they're landing with some people, but those are people that were probably inclined to be with you anyway. The people that you need to convince, I don't think are are very convinced by this.
It ain't moving, man. And look, here's the thing. It's a sort of a perfect moment, right? Because everything just kind of aligned exactly as it needed to. And I don't know that will ever happen again in politics, but this is why you run you run a campaign based on your policies, less so about the other person's policies, because if that person is no longer there, you don't have anything to stand on. Trump doesn't have any policies. I mean, honestly, I guess he has one. He's going to deport a bunch of illegal immigrants. That's literally it. Anytime you see
and apparently nobody. So it's deport immigrants, legal or otherwise. It's impose insane tariffs, and literally, if there's a tax that he can try to cut to appeal to a demographic, he will say that he will do it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about one of those later on in the show.
I heard him say in a clip today that he wants to cut the corporate tax rate to 15%. Cool. Why don't you make it negative 15%, and we can just pay them? How about that? Like,
why? I mean, that's going to happen anyway. Like, that's what all the tariffs are for. Like, you don't need to tax people if you got tariffs that are being paid for by China and all these other countries.
Yeah. By the way, he said he also said today at a rally or something, or I think maybe it was when he was speaking at this like barbershop with like all Latin folks or whatever. Mm-hmm. He said that he wants to. The person asked him, which is a stupid fucking question. He was like, "Do you think there's a way to get rid of taxes?" I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Yeah, we could go back to the 1890s. We didn't have income tax, and all we did was have tariffs."
Not 1890s.
Was it 1790s? 1790s.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Why don't we roll the clock back to the 1790s? That sounds awesome for America. Also, I don't know if you know, but the country didn't have 325 million fucking people in it. So, I don't know. Might be a bit of a difference. There was 9 of us. So, yeah. Okay, bro. If you say so. All right, Elon Musk. This one, I will let you take that. I'll let you take this one, and then I will take the second Elon Musk story.
Yeah, so Elon Musk is really fucking thirsty to get Donald Trump elected president any way that he can. We've been talking over the past several weeks as to why Trump wants to hand him a lot of government influence potentially. Elon Musk, of course, also has a ton of government contracts that he wants to make sure stay secure. So he has been doing whatever he can to get into the good graces of Donald Trump, which includes creating a super PAC to basically run the Trump campaign ground game, because it was basically non-existent under the Trump campaign. We've talked a lot on this program over the past several months about how like the number of field offices that the Harris campaign has like a 3-to-1 advantage as far as field offices go in key states.
I think it's more than that, to be honest.
It might be more than that at this point. Which again, like if you're trying to mobilize volunteers, you kind of need that organization. It just didn't seem like the Trump campaign was interested in it. Well, good news, Jay. Elon Musk to the rescue. Created the America PAC, which is basically a super PAC that he has created to help boost turnout for Trump. And one of the things that he was doing is he was setting up the door knocking operation for that they were running, not for the campaign, they were running on behalf of the campaign, essentially. Right. Well, it turns out that operation is not really going too well. According to
it's not.
According to other GOP folks. Basically, Elon Musk adopted the former DeSantis staff to run this PAC operation. And essentially, the Trump team views them as being like incompetent and out of touch. The DeSantis people. And like saying like, why the fuck would we trust these people for any reason? Apparently, we're 2 weeks out for the election as we're recording this. The PAC still has open postings for canvassers to go door to door, to go door knocking, and like the Trump campaign is like, how the fuck are you still hiring people? Like you should, like this is the point where you should be like fucking balls to the wall. It's the home stretch. Like we got to get as much as possible, and you still have open positions, and
Yeah.
you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Okay, but it gets worse than this actually. So yes, they hadn't filled all their slots, right? For this, what is it, America First PAC or whatever?
America PAC is what it's called.
America PAC. But it's even worse than that. Because they had outsourced these people. Okay, historically, what campaigns do is the door knocking, like it seems super old school. You're like, hey, sir, have you signed up to vote? And like, fuck off. And they just like slam the door in your face.
Yeah.
But that's actually how campaigns are won, right? Like,
yeah,
I know that people assume that it's just like you blitz the fucking TV stations and radio stations with ads, and that's what changes a lot of people's minds. But in all honesty, door knocking is the number one flipper or like getting people engaged, right? They normally send the people who are volunteers because volunteers are the dorks who are so hyped up for the particular campaigns. They're like, I want to get out there and fucking tell everybody about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, as an introvert, imagining someone who is so fucking hype that's like, I will go knock on people's doors and talk to complete strangers about how awesome I think my candidate is and why you should vote for them, mortifies me. And I want Kamala Harris to win as much as you can imagine. But if the Kamala Harris campaign is like, hey, like, can you go door to door? We need you. Yeah, we need me to go door to door. I'd be like, look, like, I understand, like, I really want you to win. What can I do from here
behind
with vibes to help this effort along? Do you want money? I have money. I'd be happy to give you any amount of money that you want.
Please don't make me go outside.
I'm not going to talk to people though. Like that's not going to
happen. That's not me. I did phone banking at one point, but and that was Obama's 2012 election. I did phone banking for a little bit. And that was okay. I don't really like it. Like it's just like for my personality, again, I'd rather be the blowhard that I am here, safe in my studio. So yeah, I agree with you, right? Like, and I'm an extrovert. And so for me, the idea of going door to door and telling people that I'm so excited about this candidate, and I would have to listen to these regular people talk to me is more fun. Shut up, just do what I said, right? So like I get it, right? I get why people would not
but to your point, it's how you convince voters who aren't listening to the Forward Political podcast every single week.
Right. As you should be. And so but it gets worse, right? This is the crux of the issue. They hired these fucking these sentient sleeping bags to go out there and be like, go out and canvass and fucking knock on doors. Because they're not volunteers and because they were hired, they're not as enthusiastic. Well, there's a tracking program that they have that they say, okay, I went to 123 Main Street, I went to 125 Main Street, right? Like fucking check them off the box. But it also has GPS. And these motherfuckers had been checking off and saying, oh yeah, I went to all these houses, and they didn't go to any of them. They were like, they sat in a coffee shop for an hour, 20 minutes from their house, and were like, yeah, none of these like first 10 houses, nobody answered the door. Like they were just, they were fucking not doing anything.
And not only that, but apparently a lot of the houses they did actually engage with were people who were already voting for Harris.
Yep.
Like people who like in surveys and stuff like that had already responded like that they planned on voting for Harris. Typically when you do a door knock strategy,
right? You're supposed to go to the people who you know that you can try to mobilize.
Right. Either people that have not declared for anybody, so you're trying to convince them, or people who are already with your guy that you're trying to get excited to actually get it, like go out and vote.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, this is going to sound really weird to people who are like leftists and stuff like that. I mean, logic, but this is why you don't fucking matter, because the campaigns are not trying to spend hours upon hours and millions upon millions of dollars to court people who have no interest in voting for them, but just want to be fucking energy vampires. This is why door knocking matters, because they have a list of people who are either registered Democrats or independents or people who they know have the potentiality to vote for them. The goal is to drive your people to the polls. It's not really, the goal is not really to get new voters, right? Like, you can get new voters by like your candidate just being out there, people hearing about the candidate, them fucking, flooding the airwaves and TV stations with ads. That's how you can potentially catch new voters or flip people potentially. But the door knocking is to drive your people to the polls. Hey, are you registered to vote? Yeah, I'm registered to vote. I mean, yeah, I like Kamala Harris. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to vote. Hey, man, this election's really important. And, Brad's out there. He's like getting his fucking, he's doing his like, introvert shit. Like, look, I really don't like going outside. There's a lot of sunlight out here. It's fucking very scary for me, but you got to vote. And they're like, you know what? If Brad can leave his PlayStation for 10 minutes, I can leave my PlayStation for 10 minutes.
That's right. See my friend down there standing at the curb? Wave, Brad. Like, he's even out here. Like, walking on the streets, keep me company.
Don't look at him directly. Oh my God, he's so scared. Right? But it's to drive their turnout. Like, that's the point. So this idea of like, why aren't they appealing to me? Because they know you don't fucking vote. Like you're not registered anywhere. You're not registered, or you're giving off whatever potential information that they have about you, and it could be inaccurate, by the way. That potential information they have, they already know you are not worth going out for. There are so many other people who are registered as Democrats or Republicans in Trump's case that the goal is to drive that out, that outreach. So, yeah. So because they were being cheapskates and outsourcing this shit and trying to fucking be classic tech bro bullshit, he likely has fucked Trump in a number of the swing states, which is hilarious. Also, when he loses, the reckoning of Trump spitting all over Elon Musk and JD Vance and Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin and all these other fucking massive psychos on the right is going to be beautiful, because he's going to turn that happen right on them. Right.
It's not going to happen right away, because
not right away.
Know that Elon's going to be on board for all the bevy of legal challenges that they're going to.
Of course. Oh, he'll bankroll all. Now, by the way, Elon Musk just gave Trump $70 million.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think that we need campaign finance reform, I would point you to that story. Like, one person just drop a check for $70 million. Insane.
Yeah, and again, the only reason he's allowed to do it is because of the existence of super PACs and dark money and stuff like that. Right. And we can't do anything about it because John Roberts thought, actually it's cool to just have unlimited money coming in from God only knows where.
Yeah, money is speech, my friends. Next up, Musk, like I said, put up the $70 million to help Trump, but he also raises legal questions with his $1 million a day giveaways. So this is as stupid and as illegal as it sounds. So Musk on Saturday gave $1 million U.S. check to an attendee at a rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which was hosted by America PAC. There they are again. A political action group the Tesla CEO set up to back Trump, Republican candidate, who's a Republican candidate for the presidential election. So the idea is, if you are you have to be a registered voter in one of the 7 swing states, or one of the swing states, and they will, and then you have to sign up for this. You have to sign this.
So that's where the legal gray area comes into play. So basically, it's you're not signing up for a contest being like, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump, so give me $1 million.
Right.
You're technically signing a petition. That's kind of the legal backflips that the PAC is trying to do to get around the fact that, as Jay alluded to, it is very illegal to offer someone money in the U.S. to register to vote or to vote a specific way. If you need any clarification about that, just ask Jay's best friend Dinesh D'Souza, who was literally convicted of doing this several years ago before he was pardoned by Donald Trump while Donald Trump was in office. But yeah, so it's illegal to basically influence someone's vote with money. It's not illegal to reward somebody for signing a petition, and that's where That's where the gray area kind of comes into play. Now, right. You could make the argument that the people that like the signing of the petition, like people know exactly what the prerequisites are in order to sign up for the petition. So it would be interesting if this were investigated and looked into.
Yeah, look, I believe that in every presidential race in the last, let's say, 20 years, Republicans have charged that Democrats are paying people to vote, right? Mm-hmm. They would always use it as, oh, they're promising things that people want. That's why they want to vote for them. I was like, I mean, that's what politics is. But
yeah, oh, campaigning? Okay, cool.
Like they want to pass policies people like. What a bunch of assholes. Like, yeah.
But more specifically, they weren't just saying like, oh, Democrats are giving money to people. George Soros is giving money to people,
right,
to vote for Democrats.
Look, inside baseball, this show is brought to you by George Soros, the Soros Ouroboros. Look, obviously we're paid by George Soros. That's why we have so much money that we're just fucking hanging out, right? I mean, they've long said that. Meanwhile, was it Tenet Media just got busted a couple of weeks ago for taking money directly from the Russians? I heard something about that story, which I found to be amazing. Apparently, they were like the CIA or what have you, whoever's tracking this, we're also tracking the people in Tenet Media, like their online behavior. And so like the woman, the CEO of Tenet Media would email her Russian contact who she thought or pretended she thought lived in Paris. And she's like, hey, I didn't get the invoice for this week or like the paid invoice. And then they would notice it, like the person wouldn't respond, and they would notice that she would Google what is the current time in Russia. Like so you knew then, like you knew exactly where the money was.
Absolutely.
Going. Yeah, you're a piece of shit. So yeah, I mean this idea of paying people quite literally to vote for Trump is ridiculous. Like on its face, it should be illegal. Look, I am of the mindset that many things need to change post-election, right? I saw someone say, and I think this is a really good point. I've not heard someone say this before, so I'm not going to pretend I came up with this, but I think it's a great point, which is no matter who wins this election, the country is going to fundamentally change afterwards, right? And I don't mean from like a violence perspective or anything like that. Meaning if Trump wins, we all know the crazy Project 2025 shit, like, and it's going to get horrible. And the sort of the death of democracy. But if Harris wins, it will likely change fundamentally as well, which is this idea of putting things in place so that asshole and people like him cannot win again, right? This idea of handshake rules and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying they'll be successful, but I think that they are going.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the time for that was 2020. Or 2020 or 2021 rather, after we saw the effects that he would have, especially as a losing candidate, trying to pull the levers that he would pull. And again, I'm not saying that he's going to be any more successful. It's not like he's putting smarter people around him to enact these things this time around.
Right.
But the problem is that like you only have so much capital to spend, and people will always land on trying to fulfill campaign promises. No one's going to be the person that is just there to fix the system, right? Like that would have been Elizabeth Warren. Like she would have been the one to come in and try to fix the fucking system.
Right. But what I'm saying is I do think it is possible that there is a sort of a two-prong approach, right? Like shoring up the holes of the democracy to some degree. Now, again, I don't know that they'll be successful, but I think there is a legitimacy in trying that. And then, trying to fulfill your campaign promises, right? Like that's obviously the thing you have to do in order to get reelected. But I do think the country will fundamentally change. I think that's absolutely true. It has.
I think it will.
Otherwise, you're going every 8 years or every 4 to 8 years, you are on the brink again, and you have to do something to maybe, hold that tide a little bit, right? And even if that stuff like. You have to release your tax returns. You have to release your medical or have a medical exam by the same doctor, an independent doctor, like, okay, you send us your fucking documents, whatever, but an independent doctor looks at both of you, right? Equal test. It's all public. There's no fucking hidden in the background shit, right? Like all of those kind of things, that has to change. Otherwise, well, yes, you may move away from Trump, but that is only temporary. You're going to find yourself with another person like him at some point.
So I think that our tact in changing this has got to change. I think you and I have advocated, and I think people have advocated for a lot of these rules to change on the federal level. But I think that because states have such a heavy hand and they get to kind of make the rules in terms of how elections are run, I think that a lot of these changes, it would be incumbent on the state level to actually make these things happen. Like you could make a rule, or a state could pass a law advocating for the things you advocate for. Like in order to be on the ballot, like you have to make your tax returns public. You have to share your medical records and stuff like that. Will those things hold up against a 6-3 Republican Supreme Court? I don't know, but I think it's worth trying. Like I think you have to test the fences to see where it lies. And look, you might get enough sympathetic Republicans that are on that Supreme Court that are fucking tired of this bullshit, that are willing to go along with it just to kind of reclaim some legitimacy for themselves. Because right now the court is in a very, very rough spot. So like it's certainly possible.
That's a thing I am very interested in. Just as a side note, what does the Supreme Court do after he loses? Like he's lost. The trial, cases are over. It's all decided. Kamala Harris is the president. Like we're done with the fucking back and forth, because they ceded a lot of power to him. Are they going to continue to cede a lot of power to the presidency? Certainly not when a Democrat is there. But like this idea of like, I don't know, maybe presidential immunity is a thing.
Honestly, I think it depends on how. I think it depends on how seriously Democrats push Supreme Court reform, because it's because, like I said, it's one thing for them to do shit while Republicans are in charge of the House, and and there's a presidential election going on. If Democrats somehow hang on to the House and the Senate again seems like a tall task, but if they somehow hang on to both and they get Kamala Harris in there, and we start fucking talking about, hey, the fucking Supreme Court is out of control, we need to put some ethics laws in place. We need to put some like this other thing. And if they're going to keep acting a fool, like we need to maybe seriously talk about court expansion. That'll usually, I mean, again, FDR did it. FDR did it during the New Deal. The Supreme Court was about to fuck his shit up, and he'd be like, that's a nice panel of 9 judges you got there. Sure, be ashamed if something happened to it. And they were like, oh, okay, I guess we're not.
Yeah, but he also reached a little far. Like that was his. Well, yeah. I won't say his one mistake. He had another one.
I'm about to say, I think there was one that might have been a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it was a bit of a problem. Folks are saying, right? Like a lot of people were pretty split on it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, Japanese internment. That's probably not a good idea. So yeah, look, I think but I do think there are going to be some fundamentals that change, and it'll be interesting to watch. Like it really will be, to see just where the chips fall on that. Like it will be fascinating to watch. Trump talking about the issues Americans truly care about the most. This one's all you.
Donald Trump is out here telling personal anecdotes. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris is out here talking about how to create an opportunity economy and the things that she wants to do to actually help Americans. It's quite obvious how the race is at a dead heat still, with 2 weeks left to go. So Trump was in Latrobe over the weekend, Latrobe, Pennsylvania, for a campaign rally. One of Latrobe's most famous sons, perhaps their most famous son, is legendary golfer Arnold Palmer.
Oh,
and and Trump was talking about Arnold Palmer, he apparently has a lot of affinity for Arnold Palmer, and I'm gonna quote him directly. Okay, This is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there. They said, "Oh my God, that's unbelievable." I had to say it. So for those not adept at reading between the lines, Donald Trump felt it necessary to talk to an entire rally goer in Pennsylvania about how big Arnold Palmer's hog allegedly was.
I mean, as you do. Like, I don't
Do
know why.
you?
I don't know why everyone's.
Do
upset.
you?
I don't know why everyone's upset about this. It is a known fact that Arnold Palmer, each. Okay, I don't know how to say this. Inform the youth of this. Arnold Palmer's junk is so big that each one of his bowls, one was lemonade, filled with lemonade, the other with iced tea, and that's how the drink was created. I think Donald Trump is all right. I'm gonna say it. I think Donald Trump's a little gay for like big strong men, and apparently men with large penises. Not
there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. I don't give a shit. But like, not a little gay, but like he's into it. Like, he's really into these big strong men are crying to me, and like, it's a weird. He has this like weird thing, right? Apparently, he was asking a lot about like the big strong dudes in wrestling with the Undertaker and that interview I'll never listen to. Fuck both of them.
Not in a million years.
Yeah, fuck right off. Donald Trump's a weird guy, and I don't think he's mentally fit for the role of president. I just don't. Talking about Arnold Palmer's dick is a weird move, especially from a guy who's like, his fan base thinks he's like such an alpha male and everything else. I don't recall Joe Biden being like, you know who had a huge dick? LBJ. Like, it's weird, man. It's super fucking weird. I'm pretty sure you're never going to hear a clip of Kamala Harris talking about Doug's giant package. Like, it would just be fucking strange. I'm sure that will be an SNL joke next week. I hope it is, honestly. I hope it's
100%. I'm sure they were kicking themselves that it happened after they had already aired, so they didn't have time this week to get it in there. So
they're like, oh, don't worry, we got a hog joke for next week.
But again, like, I just can't stress enough, like, this is what this dude is fucking talking about.
2 weeks out. 2 weeks out.
Are you even trying anymore, man? Like,
no.
Come on.
No, and I mean this quite sincerely. I think he doesn't want to go to prison, but I don't think he wants to run anymore. Both things are true at the same time. I just don't think so. I think he's just like, I don't want to do this. Like, can I just not go to prison? Like, I could totally see him being like, let's just set a deal and I'll fucking just go away. He's lying. He will never go away. But I just don't think he wants to. I just don't think so. I think he's just like, I don't know, man. Arnold Palmer's got a huge dick. Can I please go home? Can you please stop making me do this? I hate it here.
But you have a story here that shows that apparently this is not the first time he was fixated on Arnold Palmer's penis.
Yes, it started long ago in a urinal far, far away. Trump told Oval Office guest he was in awe of Arnold Palmer's penis back in like, what was this, like 2020 or some shit? Like, he was talking about his dick. Quote, like, oh no, that's from the rally. But yeah, Donald Trump marveled at the size of Palmer's genitalia to White House guests in the Oval Office. According to New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman, that poor woman / I'm not a fan. The former president's fascination with the golf legend's penis dates back at least to the 2020 presidential campaign. Trump stunned supporters at his rally on Saturday by talking about it. But in the introduction of her 2022 book on Trump, Confidence Man, Haberman writes that the GOP nominee has long been intrigued by appearances, clothed and otherwise. There were countless stories attesting to Trump's pursuants indulging in gossip and obsessing over others' looks. And one of the most memorable, as he prepared for a trip to Latrobe, Pennsylvania for a rally in late 2020, Trump recounted, wow, in the same place. That's fucking crazy. Trump recounted for Oval Office guests the time he had seen hometown golf legend Arnold Palmer disrobe at a Latrobe country club and the size of his genitalia. It seems it was a sight he never forgot. Arnold Palmer was all man. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, when he ran in 2016, we had a moment where Marco Rubio was like, this guy's got little hands. Yeah, you know what they say, little dick. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with my hand. There's nothing wrong with anything else.
Yeah, there's no problem there.
There's no problem there. But let me tell you, Arnold Palmer was all man. And I say that with all due respect to women. And I love women. But this guy, that was all man. That man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it. But when he took a shower with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable. Dude, I think you might be gay for Arnold Palmer. Like, he really likes golf. Like, he really likes it. Yeah, I don't know. It feels a bit weird. Look, if you like Arnold Palmer's dick, that's fine. How about you stop saying this about a dead man during a rally? It's fucking strange. Like, apparently, like, his daughter or granddaughter was like, could you stop talking about his dick? Like, that would be great.
Yeah. By the way, my dad thought he was a piece of shit. Just FYI. So,
the late golfer's family was less impressed with Trump's crudeness. What would my dad think of Donald Trump today? I think he'd cringe. Yeah, that feels about right. So yeah, Donald Trump loves that golf dick. Very strange. By the way, I heard I don't know if you watched that video I sent you. I found it really funny, and in thinking about it, I thought it might actually be true. This woman did a video. She was like, I think Melania is Donald Trump's dom. Like, I think that's what I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like,
it is very funny to imagine a world where that is true.
I don't know. It feels like that could be true. This guy really likes dicks. I'm just saying. He really likes dicks. So maybe she makes him wear a little chastity belt. And she's like, get out there. Don't hold my hand. He's like, oh, okay. Oh, gross. So let's talk about JD Vance not doing his job anymore. That's a shock.
So for those that maybe forgot, JD Vance is a sitting senator in the United States Senate. He is currently the junior senator from Ohio, but you wouldn't necessarily know it if you were hanging around the Senate floor. Turns out that JD Vance, since he has been announced as Donald Trump's running mate a few months ago, has literally not cast a single vote in the Senate since that has happened. He has missed 42 votes in the Senate. Most of them were to confirm federal appointees, but there was also votes that he missed for expanding the child tax credit, which failed, a bill to create a right for women to have access to in vitro fertilization, the vote to extend the funding of the government and avoid partial government shutdown. Now, to be fair, JD Vance's vote did not, was not the deciding vote in any of these. It's kind of not the point, though. You
still have a job.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Kamala Harris just stopped showing up to work in 2020 when she was running to be Joe Biden's vice president.
Right.
And I'm sure people can come up with examples here and there of, the odd vote that she may have missed. But I'm pretty sure that she was still doing her thing.
Right. Like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad if you miss, all right, he missed what, 42? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
If he missed 10, I'm not mad at that. Like, I get it. All 42, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, ridiculous.
Here's a fun fact. Sherrod Brown, who is running he's the senior senator from Ohio and has been for almost 18 years now at this point. In the entire time that Sherrod Brown has been a senator, he has missed 79 votes total out of over 5,800. J.D. Vance, in the less than 2 years that he's been a senator, has missed 81 votes. So J.D. Vance in less than 2 years has missed more votes than Sherrod Brown has in damn near 18.
Yeah, that's that's just ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, come on, man. By the way, here's a bit of information. To be fair, Harris and Cory Booker missed the most votes of any senators running in 2020. You know how many they missed? Because they were both out there running for president. 16. Like, that's it. And it's like, there's so many votes. They missed 16. He's missed 42. Okay, I'm just saying. And they weren't running as vice president. They were running for president, both of them, right? So, come on, man. Like, but I'm sure somebody can make an excuse. But no, they both missed 16. That's it. What a big deal. And look, again, I'm not mad at you missing some, but not doing any. You're just derelict of duty at that point. You're just like, I don't give a shit. Who cares? I'm trying to be the king, right? Like, no, this is fucking bullshit. Like, go to work, dude. Just go to work. All right, North Carolina. Well, let's see. Early voting has started in North Carolina. And shit has already gotten really interesting. Now, this article in the AP News talks about their sort of the first day voting numbers. I think it's like over 300,000, which is great. After 4 days, 1 million votes in North Carolina, which is unbelievably high, right? Now, keep in mind, they had 1 million. They've cast 1 million votes in the first 4 days of early voting. And the storm is still ravaged major parts of it, right? Like, so that's really impressive. Now, okay, the obvious comparison is, what is that compared to previous years? Now, I think personally, before I give you the numbers on the 2020 election, I think it is a mistake to compare 2020 to 2024. Honestly, I think it is a far better comparison to compare 2022 to 2024. The reason being is people often do 2020 to 2024 because they're both presidential elections. But 2020 is a really odd year because of COVID, right? Everybody was getting voter registration was like happening super easy. You know, like people were being automatically registered. People could vote from, you know, the easiest they've ever voted, right? So turnout was extremely high, right? So by the way, when people say, oh, the turnout isn't in this election as high as 2020, like when the campaign happens, there's a reason for that. Like, and it shouldn't be expected that they would both be so high. So this does compare early voting from this year to last year. Early in-person voting continues through November 2nd. More than 3.6 million ballots, 65% of all ballots, were cast during the early voting in 2020. In 2016's election, 62% of all ballots were cast in early in-person voting. So did you catch that? 3.6 million 3.6 million ballots were cast in early voting in 2020. North Carolina is at a third of that in 4 days. That is unbelievably high, dude. Like, because we don't have a 1-to-1 comparison on like the first 4 days of 2020, but North Carolina shattered records apparently on the first day and certainly into those first 4 days. So that's nothing but good news for Kamala Harris. You know, higher turnout is always good for Democrats, right? Because there are quite literally more Democrats in the country than Republicans. So that's good. Pennsylvania's doing incredibly well. I think they're just they probably surpassed 300,000 early votes for Democrats, specific Democratic registered voters already in Pennsylvania. By the way, the firewall in Pennsylvania is 400,000. So best of luck, Republicans. And by the way, if Democrats reach the firewall of 400,000 or more, which they will, right? They only have 100,000 more to go.
Mhm.
Once they reach the firewall, Republicans will have to have, statistically, they'll have to have 100% turnout. And
Mhm.
every Republican will have to turn out and vote for Donald Trump. And 50% of independents would have to vote for Donald Trump. And it still wouldn't be enough.
Now, what is this firewall that you're talking about? Because this is new information for me.
Okay, so the idea is once you have in early voting, there's only
Mhm.
just easy math. There is, let's say, there's a million people voting in Pennsylvania. It's like 8 million, right?
Mhm.
Once you hit a certain amount of people in early voting, right? Because for
Mhm.
every states are different, right? Meaning that like in Pennsylvania, they release the information of the registered, like this person registered as a Democrat or registered as a Republican, right? That they just tell you the broad numbers, like a million people
Mhm.
registered as Democrats, a million people registered as Republicans, and this percentage of registered Democrats have returned their ballots versus Republicans, right? So you have a pretty rough estimate, but like probably fairly accurate of how many Democrats have returned ballots, how many Republicans have returned early voting ballots. So the
Mhm.
idea is at a certain point, if Democrats or Republicans hit a certain number, there isn't enough people statistically voting on election day to overcome it because Democrats have 500,000 or 600,000 already banked, right?
That
Going
number,
into the election. Because
but
just because
that number's only 400,000 though.
what the point is, because statistically they know what the rough percentage of Democrats voting is, right? So
Mhm.
on election day, so like you take that number and then you add in what the average amount of Democrats who vote across the board is. So then that's what technically the firewall is. But the idea is that once you have this certain number in early voting, it's pretty predictive of how bad the
Mhm.
Republicans, or excuse me, how good the Republicans have to do on election day to come in to overcome that. So if the Democrats
Mhm.
only got like, oh, we only got 100,000 early votes, well, they got a lot to make up on voting day. But if Democrats
Yeah.
come in like, oh, we have 500,000 already to start, oh shit, that's a lot less work that they have to do, and that's a lot more that Republicans have to overcome, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Okay.
so the firewall, I've seen it talked about anywhere between 400,000 and 600,000, but again, they're already at like over 3 as of because
Mhm.
they were like 290 something yesterday. Like they're going to be over 3 because it's something like I don't know, like 25 to 50,000 people voting every day. I mean, it's a crazy high
Yeah.
number. So I think Pennsylvania's done. Like I like just statistically, I just don't think I don't think they're.
I will refuse to believe that until we see returns
That's
coming
fine.
in election day.
That's fine. I know look, one of us has to be skeptical. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy to play the arrogant asshole. Shocking. Not it's not much of a reach for me.
Look, if you can give me a hearty dude, I told you when we're doing
Oh,
live
I'd love
coverage in
to.
2 weeks, I would love it.
Trust me. Trust me. That dude I told you is not for you, Brad. I'm just trying to think of how obnoxiously I can celebrate when she wins. Not what like will I? Just how obnoxious. And look, I think in all honesty, I'm very bullish on this election because just like looking at the numbers and following people who follow the numbers quite hard. I honestly think that this idea of like we're not going to know for a couple of days. I'm not so sure we're not going to know. I think
Mhm.
I think there is a decent chance that you could see enough of a result on election night that some of that shit won't even fucking matter. Will there be
Well,
states?
I think it depends on which. I think it depends on
Yes,
which states
of course.
come back. Like if we get to like because Georgia's counting already, which they did not do
Yeah.
in 2020. So if we get to election night and it's 10 o'clock and the polls are closing on the West Coast and Georgia has gone in and it's for Harris and North Carolina has come in and it's for Harris and if Pennsylvania is trending in the right direction, then yeah, I think at that point the networks would just be like, nothing to see here. like it is over. So
yeah, look, I think if she takes Pennsylvania, which I think she will, it's still like, I know people don't want to talk about it as a swing state, but it is. Florida's still a swing state. It is. I know. Oh, they're all crazy down there. They are, but Florida's still a swing state. It is. If she took Florida, that's it. This is fucking game over. That's game over. Georgia, take your time. Who cares? It just doesn't matter anymore, right? It's just a matter of like, oh,
honestly, if she were to take Florida or Ohio, I think either one of those would be.
Oh, if she takes Ohio, she takes Ohio, things have collapsed. Okay, like things have collapsed.
Because that's interesting. I think it'd be more likely for her to win Ohio than it would be for Florida.
I disagree. But I think that if she wins on Ohio, I think that is more emblematic of a full-scale collapse for him. I mean, if she wins Florida, it's a full-scale fucking collapse too, honestly. But I don't know. I just don't. I'm not nervous, right? I'm not like fucking. Oh, you better look out! It's going to be Ronald Reagan versus Mondale. I'm not saying that. I would love it. I would love it. I would never stop talking about it. I would never stop talking about it. Do you understand if that happened? However, I am very bullish on it just because I think I'm watching what they do. Not like I read the numbers a lot, but not like I'm on 538, though I'm on there right now just seeing the bullshit they're pushing. But people read 538 and they're like, it's all even. And it's like, did you look at the poll? Like, you're looking at an aggregate, right? Like, you're looking at all of these polls smashed together. Trafalgar's on there, right? Like, they're like, Trump's up by 17 points. Like, they're just saying anything. It doesn't fucking mean anything, right? Because they're just flooding the zone with shit, which is what Bannon always said that you should do, right? But if you watch the numbers of, like, the early voting and stuff like that, especially in states like Pennsylvania where you can see the breakdowns, no, they're in a world of trouble. Like, it's a crazy amount. I'll see if I can find it. There's a crazy amount of people in Pennsylvania that are first-time voters. It's like 100,000 first-time voters. Who does that sound like? Does that sound more like Kamala Harris's voters or Donald Trump's voters? If it was 2016, I would 100% tell you that those are Donald Trump voters. Now, no, I don't think so. So. No, I'm very bullish on what's going on there. But we'll see. Look, if I'm wrong, this is gonna be a disastrous episode for me. But I don't think so. And the thing is, I don't think it's gonna be close. Electoral college wise, I don't think it will be. I think those people have a vested interest in keeping a horse race. Because if you're like, yo, this motherfucker's getting blown out, like, I think that people turn the fuck off, right? But I think it is in a vested interest to be like, oh, is it even? What has changed in the news that would tell you that Donald Trump is suddenly even with Kamala Harris?
To be clear,
nothing.
To be clear, I'm not logically, yes. Like logically, this should be Harris in a walk. But what the thing that I just don't feel like you're giving enough credence to is that Americans, by and large, are fucking dumb and do a lot of really dumb things, and they do especially dumb things on an electoral level when there's a woman running, and I can only imagine that's compounded with it being a black woman running. So that's my fear.
That is fair.
But that being said, I think the legit pollsters have learned a lot of lessons in the past 8 years. So that we're probably not going to see a lot of the mistakes that have befell some of the polling over the last two presidential elections. So,
agree to disagree. I think they are going to make major mistakes again. I do. I think they.
I'm talking about the pollsters, not the aggregators or.
No, I'm talking about the pollsters. I know. I heard what you said. I don't think so. I think that a lot of them are basing their information on, like we talked about this 2 weeks ago. The New York Times put out that article where the guy who's like head of their polling was like, don't trust polls that are using this one particular method, which is cramming their data into the 2020 method of polling. It's a mistake because the demographics have changed dramatically. And then New York Times put out a poll and it was like using the very style that he said, do not fucking trust. Yeah. I think if you're looking at one of the ones that seems to do this, what do they call it? It's like, it's not strategic. I forget the term they use. A stratified polling, I think it is. And I think Morning Consult uses it. Like those guys you can trust because they're not using, like they do polling much more often so they can see changes, and you're going to see things tighten or not tighten, but start to make more sense. I think closer you get to the actual race. But there's so many right-wing polls now. They're just dumping. There's one right now. University of North Florida. Trump up by 10 in Florida. By 10. Just randomly. They've been within 2 points of each other for months. What the fuck happened? People in Florida was like, oh shit, does Donald Trump live here? And then all of a sudden, no. Get the fuck out of here. It doesn't make any sense. He's been too busy talking about Arnold Palmer's dick, and they're like, well, that's it for me. Let's crank it up by 8 points. Bullshit. There's polling showing Donald Trump is even with Harris in Arizona. Yet Kerry Lake is losing to Gallego by 10 points. You don't think they're the same candidate? Like, it's not like Kerry Lake is wildly different than Donald Trump. She's the Donald Trump of fucking Arizona. Oh, it's all rigged, blah, blah, blah. She's the same fucking person. You're not going to tell me that race isn't dragging Trump down a little bit at all? No fucking way. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I'm not buying it. I think the narrative is let's go by the 2020 race instead of going, if you're going to use a past race, like I said, the 2022 race makes way more sense. It makes way more sense because he
wasn't on the ballot in 2022, and that makes a lot of difference. He does run ahead of most Republicans. So yeah,
you know what he doesn't run ahead of though? People's views on Roe. That's the thing he does not run ahead. So apparently, when they surveyed people in North Carolina, the vast majority of people who were like out there doing early voting, their biggest concern, abortion, when they were surveyed. Yeah, so. Obviously, that's a bunch of pro-lifers. Okay. So, no, I look, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Which, I mean, that's the most Jay thing I've ever heard me say. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.